Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the YouTube channel grecochess, where we present the various aspects of the games of chess. I'm your host. My name is Karilas Aniziris, and in this video, we're going to present round one. How did they fare at round number one of the December Swiss tournament that was hosted by the Queen's Chess Club at Floral Park, New York. But before I show the game, let me share the screen and show the announcement of the tournament. And here we are. It's called the December Swiss, takes place on 5 consecutive Fridays, one game every week. It is a 5 Swiss round tournament. You see the 5 days, December 5th, 12th, 19th, 26th, and January 2nd. The time control is, as you see here, G90 D5. What does it mean? It means when the game starts, players have 90 minutes on their clocks. And when it's the time to play, for the first 5 seconds, the clock does not move. This is a delay. So if the players can complete the move in 5 seconds, the clock is not going to go down. After that, it continues going downwards, and players need to complete all their moves before the clock shows 0. Otherwise, they are timed out and lose. There's one exception: if the opponent has insufficient material like king and knight or king and bishop, then the player who is timed out can get away with a draw. But let's give a look. First of all, who was my opponent round one? A familiar face, Hantian Ying. I had faced him at round 5 of the previous tournament, the September. He had white and he won in 45 moves. Then his rating was 1811. It went up a little bit to 1812. My rating 1556, 264 points less, so he was the favorite. But let's go now to the chessport of chess.com and see what actually happened. I'm going to enter the moves one by one. I'm copying them from the score sheet. And computer, which is stockfish 16, is going to evaluate. If it thinks that white is doing better, you'll see a positive number. Negative, black is doing better. It's going to show which move would have been the best. What does he think about the move being played, and the top 5 options for the other player whose turn is to come. I had the white pieces. They start pawn to e4. Hantian replies the symmetric way. Pawn goes to e5. My knight goes to f3. Second move. Hantian plays the most popular way, knight to c6. Sometimes players may want to surprise with the Russian or the Petrov defense, knight to f6. And if they want to surprise even further, if white takes a pawn on e5, then they develop the other knight to c6. This so-called Stafford gambit that if you don't know how to play as white, you may suddenly see black attacking you from with all kind of pieces on the king side. But no Stafford gambit this time. This time I played the Scotch game, pawn to d4. In the third move, white may send the bishop to b5, the Rui Lopez or Spanish game, or to c4, the Italian game, but another option is the Scots that I prefer. And Hantian will take it. And now, the most popular, and the computer thinks the best move is to take the pawn on d4, but I decided to go with a little surprise, bishop to c4. And until now, everything is what you see here, the book move, meaning that these moves have been analyzed in theory. Hantian decides to deviate from theory and push his pawn to h6. And the computer thinks that this is an inaccuracy, and this gives me a small advantage, 0.81. Now I'm going to take the pawn on d4. And Hantian is not going to take my knight. Many people do it, but then my queen goes to d4, and I have a wonderful queen at the middle of the board, and there is no knight that can attack it. Instead, he's going to push his pawn to d6. And at this point, we complete the first 5 moves, and I have an advantage of 0.80, partly because I started first, but partly because of the inaccuracy before, and even this is just a good move. Continue. King size castling for me. King side, I should say. It's not king size. King side castling for me. And knight to f6 for Hantian that attacks my pawn on e4. I defending with my knight on c3. And bishop to e7 for Hantian. Pawn to h3 for me. Why? I don't want any knight or any bishop to suddenly appear on the g4 square. And if I do the same thing with my pawn to f3, then the diagonal from a7 to g1 is suddenly open. And my knight on d4 or who knows what else can be pinned when I least expect it and have no way to save it. King side castling for Hantian now. Time to exchange the knights for me. So after exchanging the knights, I double his pawn on the c file. And now I'm afraid about my bishop on c4. It's not protected. A pawn can be pushed to d5, and if it pushed, do I have enough pieces to defend it? Maybe I can attack it 3 times with pawn, knight, and bishop, and defend it 3 times with pawn, knight, and queen. So in order to avoid any such possibility, let's safeguard the bishop. That's what the computer thinks, but the computer would rather have my bishop go to d3. Instead, I send it to b3, which is only the fifth best move. No, it's not at all. The fifth is the other bishop to e3. I send it to b3. Excellent as a computer, but far from the best. Would rather have it go to d3, extra protection to the e4 pawn. Bishop to e6 for Hantian. Here is the issue. Computer thinks it's inaccuracy. We completed the first 10 moves and my advantage is 0.74. Nice to have this advantage, but not yet decided. Now, if I exchange bishop, it's very tempting. The problem is that I open the F file for the rook of Hantian. That's why don't want to do it. If anything, I want him to exchange, so I'll take it back with my A pawn and open the A file for my rook. I continue developing with my bishop to e3. And he pushes his pawn to d5. Now I need to be careful. Inaccuracy, the computer gives me an advantage of 1.09, but look what is happening. If I am not careful, the pawn could go to d4. It looks like a fork, but still I can take it safely. But if the pawn goes first to c5, then to d4, I'll be in a tough situation. Meaning, if next move, Hantian puts pawn on c5, they can either limit my bishop on b3 has to go to a4, or I can even fork on d4. I have to be careful before these things happen. So what do I do? First of all, let's take the pawn. Mistakes as a computer would rather have my pawn advance and attack his knight, and if knight goes to d7, then I push my other pawn to f4. And now I'm down, minus 0.17 instead of being up. Takes it back with a c pawn, no surprise here. And now what do I do? Once again, there is a danger of the fork. I send my knight to e2. Computer would rather have me send it to a4, but I didn't want my knight to be stuck here, and also my bishop on b3 would have nowhere to go. So I send it to e2. And what was I afraid? Suddenly pawn goes to c5 for Hantian. I need to be careful because he go to c4 and limit enormously. Yes, my bishop for the time being is safe on a4, but who knows for how long. If the queen goes to a5, my bishop will have can only go to c6. It will be chased and perhaps lost. So I give an escape route for my bishop. Pawn goes to c3 and also more control of the d4 square. Queen goes to d7 for Hantian. Perhaps he was thinking of taking the pawn on h3, sacrificing his bishop for these two pawns g and h, and then having a very dangerous attack with his knight on g4. What do I do? I try to stop it with my knight going to f4. Rook to d8 for Hantian, meaning with the knight here, the bishop can only take one pawn if it's sacrificed, not both of them. And we completed the first 15 moves now, and I have an advantage a much smaller of 0.15. But how will the game continue? Now I want to take the bishop because I'm sacrificing a knight for a bishop. Usually a bishop is more valuable than a knight. And queen takes on e6. Now this is inaccuracy. I started looking, for example, the d5 pawn is pinned. And I'm also having another threat. My rook goes to e1. So the queen is in a precarious situation for Hantian. If my bishop on e3 disappears or the pawn on d5 disappears, then the black queen is lost. I'm thinking now to start attacking along the b1 h7 diagonal. My bishop goes to c2. But no, black is not played yet. Where are we now? His queen goes back to d7, 17th move for black. So at least he doesn't have to worry about these two danger situations. And now my bishop goes to c2, because now there is no pin on d5. So I'm hoping to attack along the c2, h7 diagonal. If king could go here and then I can disappear, I could threaten mate. Pawn goes to d4 for Hantian, and this is a mistake as a computer. I saw that I could win the pawn. Can I? Let's give a look. It's attacked with a pawn, with a bishop, and with a queen. And it's defended also 3 times by the pawn and the queen and the rook. No, not yet. I cannot take it. But first of all, let me take the pawn. At least I don't lose anything if I take it. Great moves as a computer. Takes it back. Inaccuracy, and my advantage becomes 1.88. Computer wants me to take it with the queen. I was afraid if I take the queen, then if Hantian's queen goes anywhere, then his rook attacks my queen. But then the computer says I could safely take the a7 pawn. Unfortunately, I didn't see it. So 188, I think it is the largest advantage I had. Instead, what did I try to do? I sent my bishop to f4. Mistakes in the computer, and all my advantage goes down to minus 0.20. In fact, it becomes advantage for black, for Hantian 0.24. And Hantian sends his bishop on b4. We completed the first 20 moves, great moves in the computer. At some point, I reached I wouldn't say significant, but an important advantage. I had some good chances to continue well. I got very reluctant. I didn't see the a7 pawn. So I ended up being dumb, but still the game is playable, just 0.28 advantage. How do I continue? I had an idea. I'm going to attack the knight on f6, put my queen on d3, and go for mate. Unfortunately, I didn't see all the possibilities. I sent my bishop to e5. To, yes, to e5, because I was thinking if he takes my rook, I take the knight, queen to d3, and a threatened mate. The computer would rather have my bishop go to d2 and block the attack on the rook. And I was thinking that during the game, but unfortunately, I decided to play this move. I was hesitating between these two moves. So instead of playing safe, after the mistake before, now it's a blunder. Bishop to e5. And Hantian, instead of taking directly my rook, sends his pawn to d3, misses the computers, he still has advantage points. So instead of 332, if he took my rook, it is down to 1.02. My bishop goes to a4 and attacking the queen. So now danger level, he cannot take, it's a great move to the computer, because now he cannot take my rook. He needs first to save the queen. Where will he put it? Queen goes to f5. And now I'm taking the knight. Not only that, if he takes my rook, I'm threatening the other rook. Mistakes as a computer would rather have my rook go to e3, and I'm protecting, of course, the bishop. Takes my rook, and I take his rook. Great moves the computer, and I'm taking his rook. At this point, I'm a piece up, but he's going to take it with expecting the rook to take the bishop. Instead, he decides to win an extra pawn with his bishop going to f2. Good move, although the computer would rather have the queen. So now I need to do something, and then he'll take my bishop. What can I do? King to h2 is forget about it. So it is either king to f1 or to the h1. To f1, I was afraid of a discover check, although I don't have anything on. Okay, he cannot take my rook on a1. He can take my pawn on b2 and threaten the rook on a1. But if we do this, I would attack with the rook to b1, and then she's still a piece down and I'm threatening. Maybe the computer thinks that this would have been the best, but I was scared, and really I need to overcome this kind of fears. I was scared of the discover. Instead of playing the best move, king to f1, I send my king to h1. Inaccuracy is the computer. Now really 3.15 is important advantage for Hantian. Let's see how game will continue. And his rook will take my bishop on d8. And we completed the first 25 moves, and unfortunately now things are becoming very bad for me. I'm a pawn down. It is the pawn on d3, the IQP, the isolated queen's pawn. I'm down by 330 on the computer. During the game, what I started thinking is if only somehow I can win the pawn on d3, I have very good chances. But how to win it? The pawn is 2 steps away from promotion. It's a pass pawn. No way I can stop it. I send my queen on d2, hoping to put my rook on d1. Queen goes to c5. Inaccuracy is a computer, but I started seeing all kind of threats, meaning if he could safeguard the pawn and then put queen rook on the c file, his pawn is near promotion. Even if he doesn't promote, the threat of promotion can win him the game. Bishop goes to b3. Inaccuracy is a computer, would rather have my rook on f1. I was hoping next move I could do it and threaten a check on no, f7. Bishop goes to e3 for Hantian. And now my queen is in danger. Of course, there are many squares I can save it. How many? Not that many after all. It's d1, e1. Anywhere else it's lost. Let's give a look. Yes. At least on c3 could be exchanged. But after the exchange, I started not feeling well at all at that time during the game. My queen goes to d1. Queen to c3 is the best answer according to the computer. My queen goes to d1, the second best move. And pawn goes to d2. Inaccuracy, pawn goes to d2. To now, Hantian's advantage starts becoming bigger and bigger, and I started really feeling more and more scared as game was going on. I was afraid queen to c1, and if we exchange, let's see what will happen if queen goes to c1. I take with the rook, he promotes the pawn, another queen. And if I exchange queens, then his queen on c1, and even if it's not mate because I have lost for my king on h2, it is very near the end. My queen goes to c2, hoping to exchange at least. Inaccuracy is a computer. Now I'm down by, believe it or not, 736. Rook goes to c8 for Hantian. What can I do now? Even that's a miss. Computer would rather have him exchange the queens. But still, 295 is quite an important advantage. My queen goes now to d1. And mistakes is a computer would rather exchange the queen, but doesn't make any difference really. And his queen goes to c1. We completed the first 30 moves. Inaccuracies is a computer. And I'm down by 4.21. I knew it was hopeless at the time. I was hoping for a miracle. What can I do? At least if I do nothing on the left half of the board, on the queen side, what can he do? If he takes my queen, I take the queen back and we're even. But if he takes my rook and I take the queen, then his rook comes to c1 and I'm lost. But one of the reasons why I'm lost is because this will come check. So let me send my king to h2 so I don't have to worry about checks. And really, computer thinks the best, but I'm still 424 down. And so takes my rook on a1. If I take it, the queen, rook goes to c1, and it's not a check, but unfortunately my queen has no escape. If the pawn on a2 was not here, my queen would escape and I might have some chance. What can I do? One last moment trap. Bishop to f7. If he takes it, computer doesn't need the best, but this has the surprise element. If he takes my bishop, queen goes to 3 check, and who knows, I might have a perpetual. I might suddenly win the rook if I can check from f5 at some point, or e6, who knows. So I was hoping for a miracle, and there was no miracle. Hantian did not even bother to take my bishop, king to h8, and then I knew it was hopeless. Queen goes to g4, attacking the rook. Who knows? If he blindly promotes, queen goes to c8, check, and then king to h7, queen to g8 is mate. But I knew. Always try the swindle, you never know, but let's see if it worked. No, it didn't. Queen to g1, check. My relief, I realize it's not a mate, but not much hope, because the g3 square is free for my king. Queen to f2, check. What can I do? Only one answer. King goes to h2. You see now the m's. Let's see, when did the m first show up? From the moment that I put my queen on g4, although there was a swindle, you see the m6. Meaning that if Hantian plays correctly in 6 moves at most, he's mating me. The queen to g1, it's mating 5 moves. With the queen on f2, it's mating 4 moves. And now my king has only one square to go back to h2. No choice there. And bishop goes to e4, check now. This is move number 35 for black. Black has made in 3 moves according to the computer. What can I do? Hoping for the miracle. Hoping he'll do anything. For example, move his A pawn. Or even promote. Yes, if he promoted his D pawn, I could check on C8, take the rook, king to H7, queen to G8, mate. Would the miracle happen? I was not hoping for that. My king, first of all, had to go down to H1, the only move, legal move that I had. No, it's not only legal. The computer also would rather have me take the bishop on the phone and lose my queen. But doesn't make any difference, mating 3 or mating 1. And Hantian could checkmate me immediately with queen to e1, but he didn't see it. He said he sent his rook to c1, which is made in two moves. That's the only difference. And my only legal answer would be queen goes to d1 and then rook takes the queen, but at this point I resign. Unfortunately, I lost again to Hantian. There were two crucial moves in the middle that could have saved me the game. The one is my queen should have taken the pawn on d4 at move number 20. And later on, move number 21, my bishop could have blocked the threat of my rook. Move number 21. These two moves decided everything. At least I feel satisfied that I played a person almost 300 points above me, and it was not an easy win for my opponent. And even if I had been a little bit more careful, who knows? But let's look at the review of the computer. What does the computer have to say about that? 66.7% for me, only two-thirds. Not very happy. 79.5 for Hantian. I played as if my rating was 1700. How much can I trust this one? 2000 for Hantian. And in the various categories, one brilliant for Hantian, grade 2 versus 1 for Hantian, best 12 versus 6 for Hantian. Excellent. 7 for me, 6 for Hantian. Good 6 for me, 4 for Hantian. Book 4 for me, 3 for Hantian. Inaccuracies 5 for me, 2 for Hantian. Mistakes 3 for Hantian, 2 for me. Misses 3 for Hantian, 2 for me. And I had one blunder. This concludes the coverage of the first round of the QCC Club. Not very good for me. But before next Friday is round number 2. I have tomorrow the Chessanity Chess Tournament, and let's see how am I going to do there. It's 3 rounds. In the meantime, let's go back to the online tournaments. The one that I'm hosting, I'm managing, the grecochess, where nothing is changing. Let's see if anything changed. Hunting Achievement still has not started playing. He is very near the end of his time. 3 days. He needs to complete a move to make a move in the next 3 days in all his games. Otherwise, his vacation time is over. I'm not sure if he still has another 3 days because of the tournament being a 3-day one. But in the very maximum, in 6 days, if he doesn't play, it is over and Maxim Govorukha has advanced. Other than that, in Group 2, Barak 7 from Israel. Group 3, the Hari, myself from Greece. And Group 4, my skin from Italy have already advanced. And let's give a look at the other tournament where my Italian subscriber is hosting the Underwater Moonlight, the 9 Moons. You see, only 83 games remain for the end of the first round, and let's see how things are going. More and more positions have been decided. Group 1, Lotus Time Chess from Japan has already advanced, and so has Oli Kimbo from Australia. The third place is between Marku 1409 and Canon 1972 from the United States. It all depends on how well will Canon 1972 doing his last 4 games. Group 2. Many games remain, with Spider 99 from Egypt being at the top. And I think he has advanced. The 2 players that can pass him or tie with him, meaning the second and the 6th in the list. But Spider 99 from Egypt is at least third, so he has advanced. Group 3. Maxim Govorukha from Ukraine with 12 wins in 12 games. He's perfect. And also Vic Vanance from the United States with 12 points have advanced. The third place is going to be between Zanilo from Italy, Silvio 888 from Croatia. Zanilo, by the way, is my subscriber that is organizing this tournament. And RMV 9827 from Mexico. It is one of these three. Depends on how RMV 9827 will do in his last three games. And then Zanilo and Silvio 988 have tied at 10 points. It depends on tie breaking. Group 4. Iraq Lion leads with 12 points in 12 games. Too many games to be decided. I think Iraq Lion has advanced at least as third. Group 5. Here everything is finished. Two games remaining, but they are not changed anything. Chinan Fu from Greenland, AMMAMT from Indonesia, and Peon Perez from Palestine have advanced. Group 6. Here everything is finished. All games have been completed. That's why you see in this pinky color, Matisse B 2008 from France, David 8x8x8x8 from Brazil, and Munzo 44 from Croatia have already advanced. Group 7. Here a few games remain, but has been decided. General F66 from Uzbekistan, Möbius from Nigeria, and Tragis from Brazil have advanced. Group 8, my group. Well, as you see, I'm out. I'll be either 5th or 6th. And let's see what is happening. Khaled Khattab from Egypt and Eliezer MSTL from, I think it's from Cuba. You have advanced. And there's a third place that will be decided between Google Ship Original from European Union, Alto Temni from the Netherlands, and Mars 404 from Kenya. This will be decided among them. And Group 9, the last one. Many games to go with Steam Rockets from Australia having advanced. That is the coverage today for the first round of the December Swiss tournament. Not a good start for me. What can I do? We'll continue with the next games of the Chessanity that happens tomorrow, and of course the next ones for the Queen's Chess Club later on. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks to the subscribers. Thanks to the likes, to the encouraging comments. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Harilos Aniziris. This is the Greco Chess YouTube channel. Goodbye.